Hi there.
Hi, welcome to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
So we want to find out, what are you guys doing with this crushing inflation? Now, I know it seems like it's a little bit behind the time, but, this holiday season, I've heard other YouTubers talk about how it's a weird year. Perhaps it's, sales are inconsistent. Maybe you're having a great day followed by a bad day. Maybe they're all bad days. Maybe you're fortunate they're all great days. I don't know. But the economy as a whole kind of had us wondering. We've all heard the news stories, so we're not going to really go into like the big macro numbers about how inflation has changed over time. But we've got two regular products that we buy for our business. And I was curious. In 2020, we started this business. What were we paying then? What are we paying now? And how are we making up the difference? And what are you doing to make up the difference? So to begin with, we had the 36 count, 110 yard, 2-inch tape, clear 2-inch tape. We use it on everything. We had bought that August 6, 2020, $36.48 was what we paid.
For 36 rolls.
For 36 rolls. So we're talking about
a dollar and a penny a roll. Yeah.
Right. The cost on that now is $53.34 for the same case. So it has gone up 48% since August of 2020.
And that's just one example. I mean, obviously you guys are going to be able to throw some examples down into the comments below about, some of the shipping costs and, the shipping supplies and the products and all of that. Right.
So the other thing is that, again, we're eBay sellers primarily. And so we like to use the eBay branded products when appropriate. So we do get a store credit. We utilize that store credit to purchase some eBay branded products because, again, I think it adds to the buyer's experience. So we always have the first thing in mind as being the buyer experience. So we want it to look professional. We don't want to use, trash boxes or, I don't like using Amazon boxes. I'm not saying we won't, but, I really would prefer that if you're buying something on eBay, that it's either a plain box, maybe it has our corporate logo on it, or perhaps it has the eBay logo. But we don't want to use, somebody else's, pizza box or something silly. The 8x6x4 has been something that's been very common. We purchased these on July 12th of 2020. We paid $30.97. That includes sales tax.
For a 50 count.
For 50 count boxes. Okay, that's 62 cents per box. Today, the same item is $47.44, 95 cents a box, and that is a 35% increase in the cost of boxes.
Yeah.
A simple small box that, again, is essential to run a business when you're selling small, fragile items. So, we've implemented a couple of things in our business that has helped try to control the expenses and try to control some of this raging inflation, but we can't stop it.
No.
All we can do is try to avoid it. It's like a landmine for our business. And every time we decide we're going to buy something, every time we want to ship something special, we have to consider, is it even worth it? Is it even worth selling that item if we have to use packing peanuts as an example? Packing peanuts are outrageous.
They're so expensive.
So most of the items that we sell in our business, we utilize shipping paper.
Right.
We wrap it in, a butcher paper or a packing paper.
And the cost of our butcher paper has gone up.
It has. It's
gone
from $20 a roll to $25, $26 a roll. So again, massive increase, a 25% increase in something like paper. So, that's certainly a big consideration when we're just talking about getting it out the door after we've already got money into it.
One of the conversations that we've had recently is, regarding my jewelry shipping. We've talked about the fact that we have the jewelry boxes and that is a must, in my opinion. It has to be wrapped professionally.
What you're saying is, for you, it is a non-negotiable.
It is not negotiable. I have to have high quality jewelry boxes that are appropriate for the pieces. So I have 3 different sizes of my jewelry boxes. They all match. That's important to me for the buyer experience, that they have that. But we were talking about the padded mailers because that's how we ship. My jewelry is, we will throw the jewelry boxes into a size 0 of the padded mailers. So these padded mailers, they have a cost associated with them as well. I believe they're roughly 50 cents a piece. 15. Okay. They're 15 cents a piece. Well, we had seen a sale for the size 000, I believe it was. Right. And we saw that we would be able to get those for 6 cents a piece. Right.
And so, to add into that, we used to use the size 1 mailer. So the size 1 being, just a couple inches bigger. And we like things that are uniform. We like things that are universal. I like to be able to throw an action figure into I might need a larger envelope. So it's easier for us to just order quantity, get a better price on the large envelopes.
And some uniformity.
And so we don't have to carry 20 different size envelopes. But what we found is that with these rising costs, it's pushing us into lighter, smaller items that we can ship in ever smaller packaging.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I've got a brooch or something, then I can put it in a smaller box. The smaller boxes are cheaper than the bigger boxes. And then the smaller padded mailers are cheaper than the bigger padded mailers. And it really is a pennies game. We are genuinely putting thought into every penny that we are spending. We are looking at every sheet of tissue paper and thinking about what that's going to cost. And, I take some of my tissue paper and I cut it into quarters so that I can, wrap the jewelry in the tissue paper with only a quarter of a sheet, because every single thing that we're doing is costing us money. So we have to be very astute and observant of every single penny that we're spending.
Right. So for a lot of people, when you're just starting out, when you're a small seller, we were completely oblivious. Honestly, when I first started out and I didn't have connections and I didn't have the capital, I would go to Dollar Tree. I'd buy 2 of these for $1. These are the size 0s. And
50 cents a piece.
50 cents per piece. Now, like I said, we're down to 15 cents. We're switching to another envelope sizing down because
then it's only 6 cents.
Right. So it sounds outrageous that you would put that much effort, that much energy into deciding what type of products you're going to even use, but just something to think about. Since January of 2020, when we started this, we've sold 11,000 items. So if you take
even
and multiply
if it's 7
everything
cents from just the difference between envelope, padded mailer A and padded mailer B, if it was 7 cents and it's 10,000 items, that's, it's still not.
It's still real money.
It's still, yeah. I mean, just that alone would be $700, which again, it doesn't seem like 700's that much, but you can buy a lot of packaging material for $700.
Right.
Not as much as you used to, but.
Right. For $700, that's a thermal printer. That might be 2 thermal printers. Or the way that we buy them used, you might be able to get 4 or 5.
Right.
The cost of our computers, everything that goes into this has to be approached with care. And
you did the research. You found that the refurbished, they were still working, but they were used products in that department, right? So we had to buy 2 computers over the last 4 years, one for him and one for myself. And we did not go out and buy new computers because, again, we're looking at every single penny that goes into the input cost that we have to put into it. His thermal printers, again, we bought used. So, the scanner, the high-speed scanner that we have.
Right. We bought, basically, it's a 10-year-old scanner. The new model would retail around $600. and we bought the secondhand one for $150. These are the compromises that we are forced to make within our business, because we're finding all of the costs are going up. So, that's what we're doing on the business aspect. On the buying aspect, Saturday we were at an auction. It was an estate auction.
Yeah.
There were some jewelry pieces. There were some holiday ornaments. There was a couple other small items that I thought, if we can get them at the right price, we can make some money. And what did you find?
Well, for one thing, again, you have to know your margins, right? So we know our margins. We do not go over 25% of what we think that we can reasonably sell the piece. We did not buy anything at that auction. I take that back. We accidentally bought a lot that we did not realize. We thought we were getting one thing, and they ended up giving us something else. Be careful
and pay attention at the auction. Otherwise, Absolutely. You might buy stuff you're not looking for.
So we spent $5. But again, like, you have to know your margins and you have to stick with it, because there was tons of things there and people were paying up hardcore because there were some better pieces. But I can't go more than the 25% margin that we put for ourselves.
Right. So that 25%, again, we've talked about it in the past, but we take 100% of the value of the item plus shipping, and we start subtracting off. 25% is allocated towards shipping. Because, again, if it's a high dollar item, maybe the shipping isn't going to be 25%, but it means that we insure it.
Right.
If it's a lower value item, then, if it's a $20 item plus $5 shipping, you're pretty close. You add in shipping materials, you're there. So then you back out you back out the cost, the 25% that you put in, and then we allocate 25% to eBay fees. So that would basically be your transaction fee, your seller fee, your store fee, as well as your promoted listing fee. So if you're promoting at, between 7 and 10%, you're going to be giving up a quarter of that total sale value to eBay.
Right. So that only leaves a quarter for the business. So, again, it's very important that we are becoming more choosy, right? We have to have those higher quality items, but they still have to meet our business margins.
Right. So we didn't end up buying anything that we intended at the auction. Everything was overpriced.
It was actually incredibly sad because we spent our entire Saturday from 7:30 in the morning until like 3:30 in the afternoon. Our intent was to source. So we figured we were going to have the auction that we went to. There was an estate sale that we had heard about. There were, different signs for garage sales, and there was a rummage sale. So we're like, a church flea market.
So the church had their rummage sale, and then they rented out parking spaces to the public, so that there was a bunch of public vendors there.
Yeah.
And so we walked through that store. We actually ran into somebody that we know in the reselling community, and I'd been talking to him about some magazines for a while, and he sold me a stack of magazines for 30 cents a piece. So that's fine. That'll go into our business, and we know that at 30 cents, that meets our margins, and then we'll be able to make money on those. So it was a $20 purchase.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, we're spending our whole day looking for sourcing. We're up to $25 out.
Yeah.
That's only going to give us $100 in sales based on our calculation.
And it's really sad because it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of time. Like, we could have easily spent that time listing and had more money realized for the business, as opposed to spending all of our time. That's both of us, and that's a lot of investment into a day that did not pan out.
So it was costing us a lot of money driving around looking for a place to park money, looking for a place to invest. So,
And the disappointment. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
let's be real. Like when you go out and your intent is to like, oh, let's find some garage sales. Like, let's get some good deals. Let's see what we can get.
Even the flea market didn't have anything.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's very disappointing because, there's just not those exceptional items out there.
Right. There was a lack of exceptional items and a lack of value in the price points. So, even common items, we don't have a problem selling common items so long as there's a margin there or something that's desirable. So it was just a flat day. It was just not great for sourcing. So one of the things that we noticed about a year and a half ago, actually, was that it seemed like the retail resale market was getting soft. It seemed to me that I was doing better on lower value items at the time than on our higher value items. Yeah. And I think that we still continue to see that. So sometime around midsummer last year, so 2022, we started to list more lower value or mid-value items. So basically $15 to $30 was the sweet spot that we were targeting, because the items that were 50 and up really don't sell regularly for us in our store. And what we noticed is that since then, we've been monitoring and measuring. This year, our sales are up 33% on dollars, but our product sales are up 78%.
Right. The number of items that we're selling are up 78%.
Right. So we're doing a lot more work to get less return. Is basically what that boils down to. And I would love it if we could, happen upon something. I heard a YouTuber yesterday talking about they buy items regularly at $5, sell them for $80. That's not something that we
tried so hard. Like, yes, obviously, like there's those great days where you can get that find and you're like, holy crow, I bought this item that they didn't know what they had, and I was able to flip it and 10x my life. That's just not realistic for most of the items that we have. Happily, it happens occasionally, and that's awesome, and I will take that win, but we can't make a business out of that.
Right. So, we wanted to share with you what it is that we're doing, changes that we're making in our business, changes that we've been making over time. When we talk about the 8x6x4 boxes going up 40%, that's universal. That's across all of the package sizes of boxes that we use. So when it comes to some of the larger boxes, we were paying, $1.50. Now we're paying, $2.50.
Yeah, for one box.
For a single box.
Well, how do you work that into the cost of your product? Because of course you have to work that into the cost of your product. So you're now taking that either out of your profits, if you're not changing the price, or you're raising the price on something. And is that now, if you're trying to raise your prices, are your buyers going to be capable of also raising their input cost by buying your item?
And what are your competitors doing? Because the reality is that if you have the only one available and someone wants it bad enough, they'll absorb that cost. But I think for most consumers, they're feeling the squeeze just as much as we are.
And we talk about it in our household, not talking about the business, but just in the household. We have gone to a once a month shopping so that we can try to negate some of those costs. Right. And we're budgeting our food. Like, we're like, okay, well, we get one loaf of bread a week. So make that loaf last, because we're not getting another loaf until the next week,
Right. And that is a 100% real. It works out to be like 6 sandwiches or something for 3 people. Yeah. So you're only eating sandwiches 2 days a week because the cost of bread is $5 a loaf.
Right.
And it translates that, again, into other categories. The cost of ground beef. We're in Florida, so our costs are not necessarily representative for the rest of the country. things, food inflation is real, and it is definitely hitting here in Florida hard. And it although, maybe news media says that inflation's backed off, the reality is that just because it's not continuing to go up doesn't mean that it's gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen the cost of ground beef go from, say, $2.50 a pound 3 years ago all the way up,
it's over $5 a pound oftentimes.
Right. So again, it's doubled or more in price.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of chicken had gone from $1.99 a pound to $2.99 a pound. That is, again, a 50% increase in just a very small period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the, we're dealing with that. Every one of you are dealing with that, I'm certain. And all of our customers are dealing with that.
Yeah.
So again, I feel like I'm asking, please, if you have tips or tricks that are positioning you well,
yes,
let us know what's working and let us know what's not working.
Right. What items that you've noticed are maybe actually doing a little bit better in a tough economy? What things do you find are working better for your sales? Whereas there's other items that maybe you used to do really well on and they've backed off tremendously. A couple of years ago, we could sell those airplane photos like they were going out of style, but now it's pretty rare, to the point to where, like, we notice when we sell one,
Right,
and we used to be able to put together collections and people would buy,
20 or 30 at a time.
Yeah. I feel like it's the postcards are kind of working for us, because I feel like people can give themselves permission to spend $4 on a postcard, but it takes a lot more.
It's hard when you sell an item and you can't buy a loaf of bread with it.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. Postcards, again, they, as a category, there's a lot of other sellers in the marketplace, and so there's a lot of competition. You might have a linen card and there's 100 of them. Well, that pushes everyone down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really a lot of room for profitability there. The only thing that's going to set you aside from your competition is either your cost or the quality of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're hoping that the items that you've picked are, pristine and
maybe a little scarce.
Right. Right. So again, like, those are the challenges that I think we're all facing.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that,
how do we get through this?
Right. And how will we know when we're through it? What is the global economic indicator that we're through it and things are going to loosen up? Because, the person I was listening to the other day was talking about how they work salvage and they would buy salvage pallets. And I've had multiple people in person also tell me the same thing, is they used to buy salvage pallets. They used to do well on them. That market's drying up. The items that are showing up on the salvage pallets are garbage.
Mm-hmm.
They're overpaying for items that they can't sell or are too low quality. And so they're lucky if they're breaking even at this point. So, again.
Well, and that's the thing. So as a household, right? So taking off our business hat, and as a household, we have to make decisions. So do we spend $20 on this cheap piece of garbage that's going to get us through the next few months? Or do we spend up a little bit more, buy a higher quality item, but now that's a $60 item instead of a $20 item? I used to give my mom crap because, like, she would buy the off-brand drill, but she'd have to buy a new drill every year because it was a piece of crap. But it was the cheapest thing out there. Well, again, we're constantly having to have those conversations of, well, do I get a better quality item because at least then I won't have to replace it all the time? Or do we just get something to hold us over? Maybe it'll be better in a few months when, we can reassess that situation.
Right. And so that's something that again, we address regularly. And,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in our life we decided was that, I'm tired of buying garbage and having to try to work with garbage products.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we bought was a KitchenAid mixer.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than trying to use a hand mixer to do something that's inappropriate for a hand mixer.
Mm-hmm.
You can't knead bread with it. If you try to, you're going to burn that thing out. And so
right.
we eventually got to the point where we said, I'm tired of buying hand mixers. I'm tired of seeing these things burn out. Mm-hmm. We're just going to get a machine
bite the bullet
that's appropriate
and get the
for the job and isn't going to wear out. So we bought ourselves a 25-year-old KitchenAid mixer that's lasted for 25 years and will probably outlast us.
Right. But again, we bought it on the used market, which could be good for eBay.
That might be the answer for everyone.
Is to have those higher quality items that are more affordable, but still quality items.
Right. So you can see where I'm conflicted is that I'm saying that the consumer wants to buy the affordable price, in that $15 to $30 range, at least in our experience, mm-hmm. but they want the top of the line $300 item for it.
Right.
So
because you know what, honestly, that's what we want. That's what we want in our household is, we want the Fiesta ware, but we only want to spend $2.50 per piece. We want the KitchenAid, but I'm not going to spend more than $50 on it. Like, I cannot spend that kind of money. Yes, I want like the rings, but I only want to spend $20. Like, how do you balance this as a seller, right, where you can still make profits, mm-hmm.
where you can actually sell your product? Because that is the flip side of this whole scenario, is that everyone is talking about how they're not making sales.
Yeah.
The sales are not matching up to where they have to be on price, and their sales are slow. So the reality is, if sales are slow, you have to charge more.
And you have to cut back.
Right.
So our household is cutting back.
As a business, you can have less product selection.
Have to cut. Right. I know. That's the thing. Like, how do you just have to do it all the time. You have to have the best positive feedback, because otherwise people won't trust you as a good business person. You have to be top rated, because again, otherwise people won't trust you as a trusted seller. You have to be at the top of the algorithm, because otherwise you're not going to be seen. Let's see, you've got to have the free shipping, because Amazon has free shipping. You have to have the free returns, because people, again, need to trust that if they don't like your product, they can send it back, because their money means a lot to them. You have to watch every penny that you spend, because you don't have extra pennies to get rid of. You have to have the highest quality items, and it has to be, towards the lower end of the spectrum, because again, it has to be a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a rant to me. I don't know if we can label this as a rant video.
I don't know. It hurts my heart, because again, like, I get it as a buyer. I get it, because we're there.
Right. So again, we're wrapping up Q4. We're in the first week in December. We realistically only have 2 weeks left to get any Q4 sales. And then we're going to go into January, February, March, which for us tends to be a moderate season. Mm-hmm. It's not the worst time of year for us. That's summer.
Yeah.
But, it was last year, winter was on par with fall. So, they're about the same for us in sales. So it's a lean time, but we're not starving.
Yeah.
So, let us know what you're doing, what type of changes you're making in your business, what the direction is long term, because I know a lot of people like us will have a lot of money invested into inventory, and it takes time to move in the correct direction. You're not flipping a switch and switching out all of your inventory tomorrow.
Right.
So let us know what changes you think will happen, what things that we should be trying to do as a community, and see if we can all get there together.
Right.
So.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. I hope your day's going better than mine. I don't know. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff.